Hello and welcome to this breaking news. Today we will discuss why the peso is dropping ahead of US PPI data. If you want to stay up to date with the latest breaking news, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you will be notified every time we upload a new video. The peso declined against the dollar today as investors prepared for the release of US producer price data. That could influence the Federal Reserve's policy decisions. The currency was down 0.6% at 18.13 per dollar after falling to a low of 18.16 earlier in the session. The Mexican peso is one of the most widely traded currencies in the world, and it is often used as a proxy for emerging market currencies. The peso is also sensitive to changes in interest rates in the United States because many foreign investors hold Mexican assets. When the Fed raises interest rates, they often sell their Mexican holdings and move their money into dollar-denominated assets, which can cause the peso to fall. The Producer Price Index, or PPI, is a measure of the average change over time in the selling prices received by domestic producers for their output. The index is divided into two categories: goods and services. The goods index includes products such as automobiles, furniture, and food. The services index includes prices for services such as transportation, finance, and insurance. The U.S. Labor Department will release the latest PPI data on Friday. Economists polled by Reuters expect the index to rise 0.4% last month, after increasing 0.2% in June. A higher than expected PPI could boost the dollar and put pressure on the peso. The market is pricing at a greater than 50% chance that the Fed will raise rates in its next meeting in July, said Edward Moya, senior market analyst at ONA. If the PPI comes in hotter than expected, it will increase the odds of a July rate hike, and that would be negative for the peso. The Mexican peso is not the only currency that has been affected by the prospect of a July rate hike. The South African rand, Brazilian real, and Canadian dollar have also weakened in recent weeks. The currency pair has been trading in a range of 17.95 to 18.20 in the past month, and technical indicators suggest that the peso may continue to decline. The Relative Strength Index, RSI, is currently at 30, which indicates that the currency pair is in oversold territory. The moving average convergence divergence, McTistogram, is also negative, suggesting downward momentum. However, some analysts believe that the peso has already factored in a July rate hike and that the currency pair could strengthen if the PPI data disappoints. We think the market is overestimating the chances of a July rate hike, said Luis Alvarado, chief strategist at Bano. If the PPI comes in below expectations, it would be a buying opportunity for the peso. The peso has been one of the worst performing currencies in the world this year. The currency has lost more than 10% of its value against the dollar, and it is down more than 20% from its 2022 high. The depreciation has been caused by a variety of factors, including the war in Ukraine, rising interest rates in the United States, and a slowdown in the Mexican economy. The Mexican economy grew by only 0.3% in the first quarter of 2022, according to the National Autonomous University of Mexico. The country's main exports, such as vehicles and electronics, have faced a slowdown in demand from the United States. Additionally, the war in Ukraine has disrupted the supply of key imports to Mexico, such as corn and soybeans. This has contributed to a sharp increase in inflation in Mexico. The annual inflation rate was 7.4% in June, according to the National Institute of Statistics and Geography. This is higher than the central bank's target of 4% as a result of the slowdown in economic growth and the increase in inflation. The Bank of Mexico has raised its policy rate by 50 basis points to 7% in June. However, this is still lower than the rates in the United States. This is because the Fed has raised its policy rate by 75 basis points at each of its last two meetings and is expected to continue with its hawkish stance. In conclusion, the Mexican peso is declining ahead of US PPI data due to concerns that a higher than expected reading will increase the likelihood of a July rate hike by the Federal Reserve. The currency pair has been under pressure in recent weeks, and technical indicators suggest that there may be more downside ahead. However, some analysts believe that the peso has already priced in a July rate hike and that the currency pair could strengthen if the PPI data discipline. The peso has been one of the worst performing currencies in the world this year due to a number of factors, including the war in Ukraine, rising US interest rates, and a slowdown in the Mexican economy. Thank you for watching this breaking news video. If you want to see more videos like this, please let us know by hitting the like button. Make sure you also share this video with your friends. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.